What's up, YouTube? This is CJ.
And Sarah.
It's a Wednesday, and that means it's time for another Keto
Conversation.
So let's get started. So tonight we're going to talk about 6 things that are Googled the most about keto. And
this was just a fun idea. I had decided to ask Google some of the most commonly asked keto questions.
So did you really ask Google?
Yeah, I really asked Google.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's not just a funny title. I really did ask.
Okay. So we have 6 topics, and I don't think that they're in any order of importance or anything like that, but just questions that are...
And keep in mind with this particular topic, a lot of the articles that were referred to when I was doing this Google search, they refer to the ketogenic diet still as a fad or a trend. A lot of them are posted by people who have no familiarity at all with a ketogenic diet or low carb in general. Sometimes they're just registered dietitians, so they have no qualifications to tell you whether or not the ketogenic diet would personally be good for you or anyone else. So that's even the latest study that Harvard did, and they put out an article. None of it was backed by any scientific studies or claims. So sometimes a person can write an article about the ketogenic diet and really have no basis for what they're saying.
Sure.
So when you're doing just a general Google search.
And, you know, when we were kind of preparing for this, and this is kind of piggybacking off of what Sarah just said, you know, one of the articles we were reading, again, it was a person who never had done keto. They were consulting with a person who was a registered dietitian. And it struck me that, you know, keto, it's, like I said, it's still relatively, probably new to the masses.
The new kid in school.
Yeah, as far as
getting bullied.
As far as diets go. And so a lot of the information, especially if you're trying to understand keto, you need to kind of be aware of that. Be aware.
But there are more qualified sources,
yeah,
I think.
There are more qualified sources. That's where I was going. And so is that there are more qualified sources from people who have actually had experience with keto, have helped coach people with keto, who are doctors.
That's true. Patient history.
That's a good point. Not just people like us, because we're not doctors. No. But there are actually physicians who prescribe keto, understand keto. Have
a patient base that they have been working with for 10, 12, 15 years. Dr. Westman, you know, the Diet Doctor, there's different websites where they actually do have qualifications and experience with the keto diet.
And so yeah, we kind of mentioned that because, again, when you do kind of research about keto just in general, you come up with a lot of stuff, and sometimes what you come up with is...
and that's kind of what this conversation is highlighting, is that if you just do a Google search, you might not find real answers. You might find a bunch of mumbo-jumbo. But it is interesting to know what people are searching for as far as what they're wanting to know about the ketogenic diet.
Sure. So the first thing, one of the first questions is ketosis bad? So I'll let you start that, because that looks like you wrote notes for that.
No, ketosis is not bad, even though there's not a lot of long-term studies necessarily, because you know, this is a newer way of life, even though they have been using the ketogenic diet since the early 1900s, or at least a low-carb version of, you know, this type of lifestyle. They're still learning, because we're in about the 10 to 20 year range of people practicing this diet for that long. But there are no known side effects or consequences of being in ketosis or staying in ketosis. And what ketosis means is when your body switches from burning glucose, usually when you take in carbohydrates or sugar, your body is burning glucose, and that is what your liver and your brain need to function.
And that's your fuel, your main source of fuel.
So when you stop providing that, your body still makes that itself, and it does that by burning ketones. So ketones are found in your fats and in your tissues, And then you use that as your form of fuel to fuel your brain and your organs. And your body actually can do either or both, or just ketones. Your body will naturally still produce enough glucose to keep you satisfied and alive.
Right.
You do not have to be contributing to that. Your body naturally does that. So, yes, ketosis is not bad, and yes, you can stay in ketosis and not have consequences that are known to us or scientists at this point.
Right. One of the other questions that people ask a lot is, how many carbs do you actually eat on keto? And so I'm going to try to answer that question, because it kind of depends where you get your information from.
And I think there's guidelines.
Yeah, I think the general guideline is, I've read in different publications, 20 grams per day.
Sometimes they'll say 30.
20, 30. But I've also read up to 50. But it is, keep in mind, those are guidelines, and everybody is individually is different. And so, although you may be able to, I'll just use it, you may be able, not saying that you do, be able to handle 30, 40 grams of carbs per day. I may not be able to. But a lot of times you don't know that until you experiment. And then, and actually track how much what your intake is. We talk about tracking a lot. Sarah has never been really much of a tracker. I have been a tracker. I've got away from tracking, and then this week kind of jumped back into tracking. And actually, to be honest with you, for those who don't track, or for those who do track, I noticed and found that, okay, wow, I've been really straying off quite a bit. Sure, yes, I'm eating keto approved foods, but still the tracking helps me personally, so everybody's different. And but as far as the answer to that question, 20 grams per day is kind of a standard guideline.
Well, and also carb quality is important.
Yes, and
when we're talking carbs per day, we're talking about carbs found naturally in fibrous vegetables, or in a meager amount of carbs that you get in dairy or nuts. We're not talking about going out and eating 20 carbs from a Twinkie.
Yeah,
that's not
what we're talking.
Yeah, we're talking about whole foods here.
Right.
So when we're talking about carbs, and that's where, like CJ said, a lot of the confusion comes in, is that certain people follow net carbs, some people follow complete carbs, some people don't count vegetables. So that's where, like CJ said, you have to find your sweet spot. So a lot of times it works best if you take your carbs down as low as you possibly can and see how you do. And then you can slowly start to add carbs in and see if you are able to maintain your weight loss and still continue losing weight. So, like he said, it is strictly a person to person.
Yeah, and if I think about what you just said, and I'm going to go back to the days of Atkins.
Yeah, that's what you did induction.
Right. With the Atkins diet, don't know if anybody's ever done it. But if you
which was 20
read
grams of carbs.
The book for the original Atkins diet, it was 20 grams of carbs, and then that was for an induction period, and then you slowly began to add carbs back in, kind of in the next phase of it.
Right,
so,
and you basically stayed on an induction until you were very close to your goal weight. So you stayed at that low amount of carbs for however long it took you to lose your personal amount of weight.
Right. And I'm not saying that keto is Atkins, but I'm just saying when you said that's what kind of crossed my mind, is that you kind of need to experiment some to see how your body reacts, and if you continue to lose weight, maybe you can handle a few more carbs.
But only you will know that, and unfortunately the only way you'll know that is to experiment it.
Right.
So, which might mean you might come into some speed bumps, but that's okay, because there's no end date for living the ketogenic lifestyle like we talked about in point 1. This is something you can continue to do the rest of your life, so you have that chance to experiment with what is going to ultimately work for you long term.
Right. Okay, question number 3.
This one gets asked a lot, apparently, according to Google, and is that, can I have alcohol on keto? And the answer is yes. But if your goal is to lose weight, it is not generally recommended to include a lot of alcohol in your daily life. So we're talking about alcohol, we're talking about a couple of times a week or special occasions or if you want to go out on the weekend. That's generally what is best because your body's going to take in those alcohol, calories, sugars, etc. and it's going to burn that first. So your fat burning is going to stop. Your ketones are going to delay in order to burn that alcohol off first. So and the amount of time that takes varies from individual to individual because we all have a different alcohol metabolism rate. So the other thing to keep in mind with alcohol is the different types of alcohol.
It's not all created equal.
That's correct.
No.
Spirits, your hard liquor, your hard clear liquors, whiskey, gin, rum, vodka, all of those are 0 carbs. The plain ones, not the flavored. You're not going to be able to go out and get tutti frutti vanilla vodka and have it be 0 carbs. We're talking just the plain spirits. You also have to be conscious of your mixers. So if you're going to be using a mixer, doing something that is calorie free, diet sodas, just club soda, things like that, or drinking it neat, over ice, that kind of thing, is going to keep your carbs still at that low carb threshold. You can have wine, both red and white, but the drier the wine, the better it is because when they make wine, they put the alcohol in there and it eats the yeast and sugar. So the higher the alcohol content in your wine, so you want to look for wines that are between the 13, 15, 17%. That will make sure that you have a drier wine and it's much lower in sugar. And that will generally be between 2 and 4 carbs for 5 ounces. So that's like a half a glass of wine. So definitely be aware of your serving sizes. As far as beers, they do make some low carb beers and they vary from brand to brand and how many carbs are in each one. So you just have to be aware of that.
So you have to kind of make the decision if you're going to drink alcohol.
Yes.
You just need to understand what it's
And
going
if
to do.
you're a tracker like CJ, then you want to calculate that into your daily foods, your macros, that kind of thing, and just make sure
you may, in fact, you may want to even prepare for it.
Right, so like on Thanksgiving, I had a couple of gin and tonics with my mom, and she had found sugar-free tonic because tonic water actually has 24 carbs.
Wow.
So you definitely, like I was saying, you have to watch your mixers. But then I made a choice, and then I had less dessert. So a lot of times if you're going to drink, the other thing that can sometimes happen with alcohol consumption is it can make you crave carbs. So you do have to be conscious that's why they have pretzels and nuts on the bar. So you do have to be aware that it might make your food cravings a little more intense. So it is definitely something that is on a person-to-person basis.
Okay, well, good info. Question number 4, can the keto diet reverse my type 2 diabetes? And so I'm going to take that one. And I wrote... it kind of depends what you mean by the reverse, because so I started keto, being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and that was kind of funny too because it depended who I talked to. Like one doctor said I was pre-diabetic, and then later it was you're full blown diabetic. And
you were taking metformin. You weren't on insulin.
Right, I was taking exactly. I was taking metformin, and then I was taking a few other things with regards to my kidneys, and I was taking 3 or 4 different medications related to the type 2 diabetes. However, I don't take anything now. I haven't taken anything for probably a year, close to a year. But when I go in, so from a medical perspective, I don't know if I will ever be, quote unquote, from a medical standpoint, not a diabetic.
I think sometimes once you have an illness,
yes.
It's like they say that even about like alcoholics.
Yes,
You'll never not be an alcoholic.
So you kind of get classified as
in remission.
From a medical, right. So we were reading something last night, I think it was on Dr. Westman's site, talking about the remission of type 2 diabetes. And I thought that was an interesting term. So this is a doctor talking about this.
Because your body will kind of always then have that sensitivity. Right?
Yes, because I can say that I still believe that I have sensitivity to
hyperinsulinemia.
Right, I still believe that, and so I still have to be conscious of that. But as far as can it get you off your medication? Maybe that's a better question. Yes, you
Yes.
can, but I also think that if you do that, I didn't do that until I started getting blood work that showed that
Right.
the numbers were back to normal and had changed.
Right.
I didn't
And
do
like
that.
we've said before, we are not medical professionals. We cannot give you medical advice.
Yes, but
so if you're going to do this, you need to do it
Yeah.
under the supervision of your doctor.
But so when I got off of metformin, it was under the supervision of my doctor. They had said, yes, okay, wow, your numbers have really dramatically changed, and we can start pulling you off.
And you'd lost a significant amount of weight at that
Yes,
point.
I had.
Which is another factor they say in the
Yes,
controlling
yes.
of diabetes is losing weight.
Yes, and so the answer to that question is, can it reverse? I don't know. So it just depends what you mean by reverse.
Right.
I think it can put your type 2 diabetes in remission, and where it's less of an issue, because right now I don't have any issues with it
But
at
you would
all.
not be able to go back to the standard American diet and keep that diagnosis.
Probably not. No, I don't think I would.
So as far as it as being cured, only if you continue to do what you did to relieve yourself of that
Right.
illness, that it's that way for anything that you get a cure for. You still have to be conscious to not do what you did before.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was a good answer, but I mean,
It was to me.
that was an answer that I can personally speak to. And again, I did all that under the supervision of my doctor, and basically as the numbers changed and they started weaning me off of the different medications.
Yes.
So, yep. What's the next question? Number 5.
Number 5 is, can I eat fruit on the keto diet? So, disclaimer here, just in case you didn't know this, CJ and I are not keto cops. We find that we follow our own version of the ketogenic diet, just like you will find that you will follow your own version of the ketogenic diet. So we are not hardcore. If you're looking for hardcore keto cops, this is not your channel.
Yeah, that's true.
We are laid back individuals practicing this as a lifestyle. And our motivation is not just weight loss for
That's
this
true.
lifestyle. We have other motivating factors. Health, obviously, with diabetes, controlling inflammation, cancer, and other things are also paramount for this lifestyle for us. So, is it typical to eat fruit on a ketogenic diet? It's just like, how much protein should you eat? How much fat should you eat? Should you track your macros? Everyone is going to be different. CJ and I do eat a limited amount of fruit, and we choose that fruit based on the most low carb types of fruit. And
Yes.
generally,
So it is low carb fruit.
generally that is to be found in berries.
We're not gonna be eating bananas.
No.
Not eating oranges.
No.
Not eating apples.
We had a small amount of cranberries over the Thanksgiving holiday, and they're also a berry. They aren't as low carb as some of your other berries. Strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, those are generally considered the most low carb fruits. And usually it's, 2 to 4 to 6 carbs in, anywhere from a quarter cup to half a cup to a cup. So it all depends on your berry.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be a personal choice for you. If it fits into your macros, if it fits into your goals, if it's summertime and you've got a farmer's market, this
Sure.
is what we're talking about, is that for us, this is a lifestyle. It's not just about weight loss.
Sure.
It's not about becoming supermodels or being on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
To us, this is about living a lifestyle and still being able to do some of the things that you would like to do.
Although Sports Illustrated did call me
Did they? All right.
about being on the swimsuit.
All right. Excellent.
The men's swimsuit.
I can't wait for that photo op.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I would love to see you in a G-string.
Oh god. Could we lose subscribers? Wow.
So we eat a limited amount of fruit.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's seasonal. Like I said, we did cranberries because, it was the holidays.
It was a holiday. It was a special
Right.
thing.
Right.
Yes, and so.
So you can eat fruit on the ketogenic diet if you find that it does not bother you, it does not raise your blood sugar. With everything else on this lifestyle, you have to come to the determination on your own whether or not it meshes with your
Sure.
lifestyle.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and again, like Sarah said, we're not the keto cops, and
No.
so
And if you were looking
we
for...
we have adopted this as a lifestyle. So this is not keto, and how we eat is just what we do.
Right,
It's not
and our
even-
weight loss is working for us. Maybe we don't look like what you see on the TV or what you see in Hollywood, but we're happy with the success that we've had so far. We are individuals on a journey. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint for us. So
Sure.
we are constantly working and tweaking this
tweaking.
lifestyle
Yep.
to get the results that we're looking for. So, as I said before, if you would like to eat fruit and you would like to try fruit, give it a shot. See if you can handle it. See if it stalls you, or if you have problems, then you'll know pretty soon.
And although Sarah talks about how we eat fruit, it's not like we eat fruit every day. We're not taking berries every day. We're not eating blueberries for breakfast.
It's a treat. A lot of times we'll do it on the weekends. It will be something that we do as, as a treat.
I would probably say it's more like every 2 weeks to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Something like
I
that.
said, we had cranberries, but before that we hadn't had fruit.
Yeah, we probably had fruit when we did the
blueberry cheesecake.
Right.
So a lot of times our fruit consumption is wrapped in a recipe. Mm-hmm. But as we've said before, just because we have a food-themed channel does not necessarily mean that we're eating those foods every week or even every month.
Right.
We make those foods, we consume those foods, and then we move on, and we'll have them again at some other point. So,
right, because what we're trying to do with the recipes is just show you that there's options.
Right. If you have a birthday, if you have a holiday, if you have a special occasion, you have options. That doesn't necessarily mean that those options need to be in your weekly food choices. Yeah. So,
all right. And then I think we're at the last one.
Yes.
Should I be concerned about the keto flu? I don't know.
I think the theme for this should really be try it and see is what it should be called.
Really?
Neither one of us developed the keto flu.
Yeah, I think I may have had the keto flu when I went to carnivore. Tried to do carnivore. I may have got something.
Because you brought your carbs much lower than maybe you.
But I don't actually. When we started keto, when we both started keto. You started before I did. If I had the keto flu, it was very mild.
And the keto flu is generally not feeling super great, having brain fog, extra tiredness, things like that. That's what they mean by the keto flu.
I experience that all the time, so
it's called life.
That's just normal. But no, we're not trying to make light of the keto flu if you experience the keto flu.
What's important to remember with the keto flu is that it's short-lived.
Yeah, it will pass. And there's things you can do.
Right. Supplementing with electrolytes is very helpful.
Yeah.
A lot of people find that makes a massive difference. So even just supplementing with Himalayan sea salt under your tongue every couple of hours can be vastly helpful.
Yeah.
So
because if you really think about it, your body, you're switching your body from its main source that you've been using for years, glucose, and you're switching down to a different source of energy. And
depending on what age group you're in,
so,
you could have been doing the SAD diet for 40 years or 50 years or
So
however long.
if you think about it, to me it makes sense that your body might have some type of reaction. Everybody is different. Right. The way people respond is different.
Just like the way you respond to the actual flu, like the flu virus. Yeah. Everyone is different in the strength.
Everyone is different. So should you be concerned about it? You should be aware of it. I think you might want to be aware of it especially if you're just starting with keto. I think you should be aware of it, but I don't think you should allow
fear it.
Right, fear it or let it.
It is truly temporary.
Yes, it is something that will pass, and again, there are things you can do to kind of mitigate.
And sometimes, if you look at it with a positive slant, going through that flu, when you get on the other side of it and you realize how wonderful you feel on this lifestyle. It's kind of like a light bulb moment. Oh, this feels really great. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really feeling that great before this transition into the keto diet. So sometimes it can be like a reward. Getting on the other side of that flu is like a reward, realizing how good you can actually feel. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. And so then one of the last things we talked about, we have some little notes. We talked about, because we mentioned this earlier, how like if you were to just do a Google search, how you may get a lot of somewhat
articles without substantiation,
right?
Without scientific backing.
But on the flip side, I think there are good places to get information from. And so I think you mentioned this earlier, like the dietdoctor.com.
Yes. The ketogenic forums are very helpful. That's run by the Two Keto Dudes, and it's just a community center where they have different topics new people ask questions. They have questions about fasting. They have questions about diets. They have exercise, medication. They have where actual people who are trying to practice the ketogenic diet will come on in. So it's kind of like a Reddit, a Facebook. It's a safe group where you can go and ask questions and be heard and have a positive experience, because they monitor it quite strictly. So you should have a positive experience going there.
And another site I recommend a lot is, and well, you recommended it to me first, is ruled.me. Not because we're affiliates, but because the information is good.
Yes.
So whether I was an affiliate or not, I would say that this information is good information.
And he does answer a lot of the common questions that we just discussed too.
And so we've got links, and if you decide to purchase the stuff, that's great. But you can get a lot of information from Rule Me
for free.
And so, I'm just one of those people who, if I jump into something, then I just jump in and I'll spend the money. I think it's important to spend money on, if you want to spend money on yourself and on your education. Right. So when I started keto,
you did buy his program.
I bought the program.
And it wasn't an insane amount of money.
But I did not have to buy the program.
Right.
There was enough free information on his website where I could have just been fine and done just fine, because that's what you were doing. You hadn't purchased anything.
So that's definitely something that we recommend, is going to actual ketogenic sources from doctors and practitioners who have been living the ketogenic life themselves for 15 plus years, and also have a set amount of patients that they are assisting with this lifestyle, so they've seen it all.
And I would also say, and this is not in our notes, is so if you're doing keto, sometimes you need to get some continued education. We've talked about that before, how you need to, yes, you know what to do with keto, but Sarah sent me something just before we started this video for a topic for next week. We're
going to be talking about keto myths versus keto facts.
From what Nina
Teicholz.
Yeah. But, now you listen to podcasts way more than I do now. I've kind of, because of our YouTube channel.
And you don't have a commute anymore, and now I have a commute.
Yeah, she's got a commute. I used to have a commute, and that was my education
That was
time.
your podcast
That was my podcast
so
time.
So now I have that.
And now she's got the commute. But there is nothing wrong, and we would strongly encourage you to continue to learn and I guess explore and hear some of the latest information about keto.
I learn new stuff every day, and I've been on this lifestyle for 2 years.
The Two Keto Dudes podcast, awesome. You listen to, now I've never listened to the Ketos for Normies. That's folks
KetoConnect.
KetoConnect. Mm-hmm. I've never listened to it, but you have.
Daisy Brackenhall has a great one. It's the Keto Women podcast, but it's not just for women. I mean, men can definitely listen to it too, and that one's really, really nice.
Yeah, so it's...
Jimmie Moore's got podcasts. I listen to Ketogenic Girl, Vanessa Spina. She's really good too. So there's... Just go to iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts and just put ketogenic diet in there, and the most popular ones will come up.
Yeah. And so there's nothing wrong with, you continuing to get education and get information about keto.
Because all of those people who are doing those podcasts are also continuing to learn. Yeah. They're not authorities. I mean, we look at them as people who know a great deal about the ketogenic diet, and they do, but they're also aware that there's new things to be learned. And they'll let you know, hey, I'm still learning too. So we're all helping each other. That's what we do these conversations for.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's about it for this week. So if you're new here, this is our Keto Conversation segment. We do these every Wednesday, and then we do new recipes on Sunday. So consider subscribing. We'd love to have you as part of our ketogenic family.
And we're going to have a breakfast favorite this Sunday. Yes, we are.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have some kind of a breakfast...
Keto breakfast
dish this
comfort
week.
Food.
So anyway, I think you guys will like it. I know what it is now that you just said it. I know what it is. And
did you see that light bulb above CJ's head?
I'm going to have to taste test it.
And that's just going to suck so bad, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to have to taste test it. So anyway, thank you for watching CJ's Keto Kitchen. We appreciate you being here. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye. Peace.